Hi there, I'm Richard and welcome to this short overview of the lymphatic system. Certainly when I was a medical student I didn't appreciate its clinical relevance and overlooked it a bit. But once I was a clinician I realised just how important it is because it's involved in several disease processes. So in view of this we've put together this PowerPoint presentation. I hope you find it useful and we're just going to go through a narrated series of slides. I'm sure you're really confident with the vascular system and understand the arteries are taking blood to a capillary bed and the veins are taking blood back to the heart from the capillary bed. And this may be the pulmonary capillaries where the blood is being oxygenated by the lungs, or the systemic capillaries where the oxygen is being delivered to that tissue. Unfortunately, it's not quite as simple as that. We need a third system of fluid being transported and moved around the body because, as you can see highlighted, the capillary beds are leaky and fluid can leak from the capillary beds, i.e. within the vascular space, into the space around cells, commonly called the interstitial space. If we don't have a way of collecting this interstitial fluid, or this fluid around outside the cells, we would just carry on getting fuller and fuller of fluid. So the lymphatic system is essentially the collecting system. So that fluid can be collected from the interstitial space and then returned into the vascular space. Before we talk about the structure of the lymphatic system, let's just recap about why this fluid collects. It's really related to the pressures and forces across the capillary, and these are described by Starling. Starling's forces show that the hydrostatic pressure within the capillary outweighs the oncotic pressure pulling the fluid back in. And if we look at this represented on a graph, the red triangle is of a larger area than the blue triangle. And this represents that there's a net loss of fluid out of the capillary. Starling's forces across the capillary are crucial to your understanding of many disease processes. It's always worth revising this and truly understanding it. We can see the lymphatic system is throughout the body, and its constituents are the lymphatic vessels, the lymph nodes, bone marrow, thymus, spleen, and tonsils. We see the layout is similar to that of the arterial and venous system, with the lymphatic vessels running longitudinally within the limbs and coalescing together within the trunk. The lymphatic vessels from the lower limbs coalesce together with the lymphatics from the alimentary tract to form the cisterna chyli. This goes on into the chest to form the thoracic duct, which is in further joined from vessels of the left upper limb and left side of the head, and these then join to the venous system at the junction between the left internal jugular and left subclavian vein. The right upper limb, parts of the right upper chest and the right side of the head and neck join together into several channels and further join into the venous system at the junction between the internal jugular vein and right subclavian vein. The obvious difference between the lymphatic system and the arteriovenous system is the lack of a pump in the lymphatic system. Whilst there is no obvious pump for the lymphatic system, the clever design of the lymphatic vessels themselves act as a pumping system. The overlapping epithelial cells only allows fluid to enter the lymphatic vessels from the interstitial space. Within the vessels themselves, there are one-way valves, and this ensures the overall direction of the fluid is only in one direction. Don't worry, I'm not going to start singing like Harry Styles, more of a Coldplay or U2 fan myself. However, it's really important to remember that these one-way valves only allow the fluid to travel in one direction. This is important clinically because massage and movement can increase the pressures within the interstitial spaces and therefore force fluid into these lymphatic vessels. Again, unlike the arterial and venous system, the lymphatic system has various staging posts along the lymphatics. These are lymph nodes, and these lymph nodes essentially act as filtering systems where the fluid travels through the bed of the lymph node. They concentrate in specific groups, and specific areas will drain into these specific groups. The lymphatic nodes are throughout the body, and within them there's a collection of lymphocytes. They act as a filtering system, so the lymph system will enter, go through the lymph nodes and exit the lymph node on its way back towards the venous system. But this is where pathogens can be presented to the immune system. I said at the beginning of the talk, there's numerous diseases which involve the lymphatic system, either with infection, with inflammation of the vessels themselves, which can lead on to inflammation of the lymph nodes. With them being a filtering system, cancer metastases can frequently get lodged in lymph nodes. They can be primary disease of the white blood cells, and if they concentrate in lymph nodes, a lymphoma might present with swelling and cancerous cells in the lymph nodes themselves. And if this collecting system fails, there will be a build-up of that interstitial fluid in the tissues, and that area will become swollen and enlarged, called lymphedema. Here's a clinical case of mine. This gentleman presented with this malignant mass within his parotid gland. We had to remove the parotid gland, but also the lymph node chain in his neck. As you could see, some of these lymph nodes were enlarged due to metastatic spread of the cancer from the parotid itself. So do remember the lymphatic system, think of it carefully, and if you're examining an area where there's a disease process going on, always go on and examine the lymph node basin which drains that area in case there may be metastatic disease or inflamed lymph nodes due to infection. Thank you.